everyone, and welcome to this festive edition of Replit 101. You can tell it's festive because I've quickly grabbed the bauble and put it around my ear because I couldn't find a Santa hat. I'm going to remove that because I look like I'm having a midlife crisis, and that might be true, but certainly I don't think I'd be wearing baubles. There we go. Welcome to Replit 101. After last fortnight's very deep and very interesting conversations about ChatGPT, we've finally got it up and operational whilst we're live. So we are going to spend today where a human, i.e. me, is trying my best not to answer any questions. We're going to see if ChatGPT can do the heavy lifting for us. Of course, I'm here anyway, just in case, and to give my opinions and to at least chat in the chat room. And of course, what would Replit 101 be without seeing your favorite bald British dude for an hour every fortnight? Now, before we start today, let's have a look at the new features in Replit since last time we tuned in. So the key thing today, and obviously I've got ChatGPT up on the left-hand side of the screen, but the new things about Replit in the last 2 weeks, and number one, I'd say, is that we have a self-service ghostwriter trial. So if you've not tried it out yet, that little button that says try ghostwriter that appears in the bottom left of your screen when you're trying to get on with your work is a self-service trial now. You can click that and go straight into the trial. It's not a waiting list or nothing like that. It is really, really good. And of course, to go with that, on the Learn page, we have built a ghostwriter course, which takes you through and gives you some examples about what you can use it for. And as I said to you last fortnight when we were doing a lot with it, it's really good. It is fantastic. It really does improve the speed at which you can do your code. So go get the free trial, go use it to work through the tutorials and see what you can do there. We've also, speaking of the Learn page, added a series of tutorials on power-ups. These are things like boosts, always on, and private repls that we sort of take for granted, really, but just a reminder about how you can use them and what they're good for. There's some really good examples in there. And again, these tutorials are free. We also have a course released by Mindjoy, which is all about coding art with Python Turtle. It's not your standard course. It's not a click this button and do this, fiddle with that. Mindjoy are a brilliant educational company, and they do great work with READMEs, where you actually have to go in and apply the skill and work your way around the README as if it was like a map or something interesting to explore. Well worth your time if you're into our learning. And of course, we have finished 100 days of code now. The only thing I'm doing to it at the moment is going through and fixing problems as we see them. The biggest feature, though, that has been requested in Replit history has finally appeared. You may see the new button on a certain part of the screen, but we now have themes. And I'm just going to zoom out so you can see a bit more than what I've got there at the moment. We have themes. You can change the colors to be anything you want. I'm just sort of part way through recording and planning a video on this, but there's some beautiful themes already. And I've got a very specific way of designing and showing certain parts of code on screen, as you might have seen if you did 100 days of code. I can now build the theme so it looks exactly as it did in my graphics there. But it's not quite public yet, but it is launching today. So I want to sort of show it off. Thank you for saying that. But yes, it will be there very soon for you. It is rolling out today. It's a really cool thing, though, and wanted by lots of people for a very long time. It's very easy to turn one on. If we pick Alana's theme here, you can see some examples of what that will look like in different languages as well. And if you think it's really, really good, you can tip them. When tipping is a really good thing that's just popped in there. So we can tip people for that. And we can use or preview the theme. Now, there's a bunch of stuff on there, or you can create your own. The creation of the theme is pretty cool. If I just go test and test for a moment and create my theme, you'll see it's not just changing the background, the foreground, the primary colors of Replit itself. There is absolutely minutiae of details on everything you can change, which is absolutely lovely. And you can even easily convert VS Code themes straight away into this, which I think is pretty cool. But that's rolling out to everyone today. You may already see it. You may already have it. If you've got Explorer turned on, you may already have it popping up. The last thing that's worth pointing out as well is our bounties marketplace. Bounties are where you can go and post a programming question or a job that maybe you haven't got time for, or you haven't got the capability to build yourself, and you can get other people to do it in exchange for cycles. If you are a coder yourself, you can go and become a bounty hunter and get involved in this and make yourself some cycles. We now have cash out for over $100. And it's a really nice way of learning new things, extending your skills, and more than anything else, just building up a portfolio of skills. Because the number one thing that my students used to ask me whilst I was teaching was, how do I get professional experience? And it was always a difficult answer. And now we've got bounties, and bounties will let you get professional experience and build up a portfolio of work very, very quickly and easily. Buddy, don't panic yet if the theme stuff isn't there. It is going live today. Don't worry. It's on my list of things that I needed to promote. So there we go. So that's most of the new stuff that came to Replit in the last 2 weeks. Next time I will chat to you, we'll have had a big gap because it's in the new year. And we'll see what Replit gets for the holidays. Right, that's enough of me talking. Let's get stuck into the questions today. And we were going to prioritize the questions in the chat, which I've unfortunately let get a little bit behind me. Let's have a look. Okay, so we'll start with Fushiko, who brought up a brilliant question here, which is, oh, sorry, that's the following up. Here we go. Which is, should pure utility classes be refactored into one or more files of simple functions, pros and cons? And then I asked for a little bit more detail. So an example of a pure utility class could be a function that maintains game state. It probably needs getters and setters, but the methods that do things like display a score or check for an end of a game, should they be methods? Now, okay, let's start with the practicalities of that, because I think there's a, to my mind, and I'm gonna say what my thoughts are before we feed it to Chat GPT here. To my mind, the difference between a pure utility class and a class that has utility but does something practical as well is very, very minor. And I think we've said many times in Replit 101, there's a big difference between what you'd love to do, what like the theoretical gold standard is, and actually what building it and making it work and getting it done in the time limits that you've got lends itself to. And I think, therefore, pure utility classes are perfectly fine. They may not do anything fancy on their own. They may require other classes to display things on a screen. But do you know what? That level of abstraction is fine to me. I think, keeping those layers separate is not the end of the world, because that pure utility function can then be reused in many more places. It isn't hardwired to do anything in particular, which I think is nice and I think is great. And of course, as someone that had to teach the multi-layered models of how network protocols work for many, many years, I do understand the importance of separating things out into the simplest forms possible so that you can reuse parts. But it's the holiday special. It's not all about me today. Let's have a look what ChatGPT thinks about this problem. So let me go and grab, here we are, the text, and we'll feed it into ChatGPT. What do you think, little robot? Let's have a look. I'm not sure I like the new speed of this. I think they've slowed it down a little bit here. So ChatGPT is basically saying that its simplicity, simple functions are generally easy to understand, and that's fair. That is fair. If they're not doing loads and loads of other things that aren't necessarily important, then that's great. Reusability as well. Smaller, more abstract classes are more reusable, and I think I sort of said that earlier. This is something I never really think about, testability, like how easy it is to test something. In games development, it becomes very difficult to test a lot of things because you are dealing with specific circumstances. So if you can generalize that a little bit and make the testing easier, that seems good. Okay, cons. Organization. Splitting up to multiple files can make it more difficult. Yeah, that's fair, isn't it? We've all explored code where people have abstracted away and abstracted away. And I mean, I'm looking at you, WordPress. That is hideously complicated code. And it does feel like for the sake of it sometimes. But if you're trying to do it right, presumably you're trying to abstract. Duplication. I haven't really thought about this either as an issue. Split into multiple files can lead to duplication of code. And I suppose when you overload functions, and overloading functions is where you sort of take, here's the function with 2 arguments, and I'm going to say what happens when 3 arguments hits it, or something similar to that. You could be rewriting your code a lot. So what was its answer? Overall, when refactoring a pure utility class into one or more files of simple functions, it's the specific. Oh, that's a bit of a cop-out chat GPT, isn't it? It depends on the function. That's lovely, but it does feel like a little bit of a cop-out answer. There we go. I hope, Fuchsia, that answered your question a little bit. If you're in the chat and you've got a specific opinion, please pop one in there. I know Hydrogen said your pure utility class is better. It keeps the code clean. Very much. I suppose a lot of the time the question is, okay, these utility classes keep the code clean, certainly, but can you move quicker? This is especially important if you're working in a startup or a smaller scale company. Can you move quicker if you're putting some useful stuff in there as well? Let's have a look. Anybody else on there? Buddy needs to be reminded to make a Christmas theme. So please do pester him to make a Christmas theme. I'll make sure he remembers. Let's have a look. What else got there? Craig is saying he's behind on 100 days of code. Depends where you stopped, Craig. If you stopped around about the Takinta section, I give you permission to skip ahead a couple of lessons until you're back out of that. That's in there specifically to show how GUIs are built on a sort of a very technical level that maybe isn't the most modern way of doing it. But there we go. So don't feel bad about being behind. It's 100 days. You know, it took us a long time to build the thing. It's fine for you to take your time with it, but hopefully useful to you in the long term. And that's an interesting point. Hydrogen says use utility classes for general mathematical functions. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I think that's well. Again, the thing is with like pure computer science, when you study that, what you always get drummed into is that you want the abstraction. You want the most generic thing you can, because if you build the generic form and then you inherit it and you make the specific form, that generic form can be reused as much as you want. And I think it all just boils down to the difference between am I going for best practice, or am I trying to get things done for this particular implementation? And then Hydrogen goes on to say, I think containing game logic in utility classes isn't really the best move. And that's fair, isn't it? Because we know that the game logic is specific to a game. You wouldn't find any of the big studios. Again, I've never worked for any of the big game studios. So if you do, please correct me. But I wouldn't have thought you'd find one of the big game studios embedding actual game logic in the classes that are there for their internal engines. Because that just seems a bit odd to do that. Fisher's also saying some of the issues about the abstraction with a single utility class can blow up to maybe thousands of lines of code. Refactoring into separate files can be good for organization, maybe. Yeah, I think so. And again, my problem with utility classes and like going for that very abstract, very pure computer sciencey way is the more files you have and the more inheritance you have, the more your brain is doing gymnastics to understand the concepts. And if you make it difficult for a human to keep it all in their head, sometimes that can lead to mistakes being made along the way. So I think there's definitely a place for it. And ideally, we do that all the time. But we are soft, squishy-brained humans. And so we do need to make affordances that other people can work with it and that the code can be maintainable and reusable. Okay, I did see a question up here as well from somebody earlier on. Okay, I'm going to stick this question in the chat GPT, but I do know the answer and I can pull it up in a second. and it's from it's Mas. This is the problem with usernames. I'm going to say it's Meso. There we go. That makes sense. It's Meso. How do I access the terminal while coding HTML? But I also want to code Python. Please help with that. Cool. Yeah, we'll show you both. Let's get that text and let's get that into ChatGPT. Let's just make sure in Replit. Let's see. For those of you that know what's going on, it's not quite what it's talking about. And actually, it's going on about... all right, fair enough. It's going on about how to install Python really on a local machine. And this is one of the difficulties with ChatGPT is it is mostly right, but it's not quite right in the context of this question that we're doing here. This is interesting, though. I always forget this is a thing. You can just make Python turn into a web server very, very easily. You do Python -m http.server, and we'll start a very simple web server running from it. I mean, what I normally do is import Flask because you've got much more effort with it. Well, unfortunately, ChatGPT has failed this time. Let's have a look in an HTML REPL where the console is, because it's very easy to very, very easy to lose it, because you just expect the terminal to be here. And if we search for terminal, it's not terminal, it's console, sorry. If we search for it, it doesn't pop up because it's an HTML. It's a HTML view. But what we're looking for is actually under this developer tools icon here in the web view. If you click that, you'll see at the bottom now, I'm in the way, so let me just jump over to the other side. You'll see at the bottom, that is the console that we're talking about. Whenever we do HTML development and we mention the console, we're not actually talking about this thing. We're talking about the console that's running in the web view. Now, what we can do with that, of course, is we can do a bit of JavaScript. So let me go into here and just do something like console.log. Hello. And if we run this now, hopefully, there you go, you'll see we're getting some output into the console at the bottom. So that's basically the equivalent of print in Python in JavaScript. And it's quite a nice and easy way of doing it, but it is slightly different because it's being interpreted by the web browser. Now, of course, if you run that full screen, you don't get that hello popping up. And what you actually have to do is go to developer tools, which have popped up in a different window now. And you'll also see the console is there as well. And there we go. The user message has popped up. So it depends how you want to work with it. I like the built-in one in Replit. I think it's very easy to very quickly debug and see what's going on. So that's your console within HTML. If you are, and I think the question was, I also want to code in Python. So again, if you're making a Python REPL, here we go. The console there that you're looking at, it's called console, but it's a different thing. It is pointing to the output of the Python file itself. And let's zoom in a little bit because I'm a bit far out there. So if we print hello there, now it goes right to do its business for me. That is just outputting directly to the console built in. So you don't need to do any fussing about with that. If you want a web server, I don't know, I'll pop that up there. Love, I got a random error for literally nothing. Was that in the HTML stuff? Normally, actually, what that is your Chrome extensions, because they're running on every single page. So if you ever see a random error in code you're building, just check to see if it was the Chrome extensions being weird, because often they can be a little buggy and have some issues. The reason I know this is because I once spent an afternoon trying to debug something which was, I didn't think was a problem, with an error popping up, and some deprecated commands that I couldn't even see in the code, and it turned out just to be one of my Chrome extensions. So there we go. Yeah. After an afternoon of looking for it, that's the way I felt as well. Sorry, but one of the things with Python is you can combine them both together. You can combine Python with HTML. One of the easiest ways to do this is with Ghostwriter. I'm just going to do generate code. I'm going to do Flask web server on 0000. The only reason I do that bit is to make sure that that's the address that you need to send it to for Replit to bring up the web view automatically. So if I generate that, hopefully it'll give us the boilerplate code for a Flask web server. There we go. And if I click run now, we should get the hello world. And there we go. The web view pops up as well. So that's how you combine them together. And if you're doing 100 days of code, part of the last 30 days, I think, is Flask web servers and using Python to host and run your websites for you. It's really nice, actually. Now, I was always, and this makes people look a bit disgusted at me, and I don't blame them, but I was always a PHP man. I always found it very, very useful. Even until a few months ago, I was very into PHP, and then I learned Flask as part of doing some work on Python, and was like, wow, this is much more modern, much nicer. And I'm now looking at learning TypeScript and React. So hopefully, one day I'll be up to modern web standards again. Oh, hydrogen. Yeah. It's just me and Mark Zuckerberg that like PHP, unfortunately. Me and the Zuck. I always used to say, yeah, but if you build it in PHP, it's fine because they've built Facebook in it, and that's huge. You're never going to get as big as Facebook. So we know that. Yeah, it's old tech, isn't it? I'll hang my head in shame. Oh, right. Spoilers. OGBL is all I can say to you. Yes, you did see the icon there. And we'll have more to discuss about that in January. In fact, I'll be building a small tutorial series for it when it comes out, because there's some cool stuff coming in January that I need to remember to turn off before I do live streams, because I'm giving away spoilers all over the shop. Oh, did he take Panda? Brilliant. Phew. It's always good not to be spoiling stuff, but yes, if that's the case, yes, we do. And you can see the lovely little icon there, which will allow us to set up a database directly in a REPL. And honestly, it's so nice. You wait till you see it. It is for somebody that I love, just like pure MySQL databases. One of my favorite things in the world is just plugging a database into a web server. I know that's really weird, but I just love the fact. Look, I love how powerful MySQL is, and just as a general technology. But having Postgres, I never remember how to pronounce this. I always call it Postgres, but there we go. I'm sure there's a better pronunciation than that. If you can correct me, please do. But having Postgres is maybe it's because you say people say SQL. Postgres, no, there's a better pronunciation, right? But anyway, that cool coming soon. Right, completely got myself off track there a little bit, but thank you. Thank you. Now, interestingly, I tell you what, I always find interesting about these live streams is we never have any more than about 10 or 12 people watch live, but hundreds of people watch asynchronously, which is really cool. It might be the time we're doing it. I'm in the UK, so it's quite late for me, so I don't want to do it any later, really. Otherwise, I'm here with bags and the wires and not really working very well. And a bald dude, let's not add to it with the bags under the eyes as well, frighten people away. Yes, it is going to be a nice feature. It's very well done as well. I can't show you it, unfortunately, right now, but it is very well done. It's very highly polished already. Right, there's another question I saw from Fuchsia. Sorry, right. We use ChatGPT to write a lot of code. Some of the solutions use libraries that I don't know. Yeah, do you know what? That's useful. One of the things I was doing with it recently is in my Ghostwriter series, I was trying to do videos on languages that I wasn't keen on. Things like TypeScript that are modern languages, and even things like JavaScript, really, where I learned JavaScript a long time ago, early days of the internet, and so a lot of my techniques with JavaScript are very old-fashioned. So I was asking it things like this. I was like, Give me an example of modern. I'm completely blocking the screen. Sorry. Give me an example of modern practices in JavaScript and their classic code variations. Something like that. Let's see if it gives us anything now. Yeah, so look at that. I mean, if you're trying to learn something new, if you're trying to learn like what's changed since you once had hair, this is amazing. Because as I was doing the Ghostwriter stuff, I was like, well, Ghostwriter is very good at transforming code. It's very good at turning code from one thing to another. And one of the things it does well is you highlight a bit of code and you say, modernize this, which for me is a lifesaver. But there's that added worry initially that I don't know what I'm doing old-fashioned. So bringing in something like this, bringing in something like ChatGPT to look at those differences was absolutely amazing. I've noticed Lena pop in the chat. Hello, Lena. Look at us. We're getting on to 11 live viewers. Amazing. One day that number will be higher. Maybe. And there was another question from you, Future. I think there. Sorry, that's the one. This one I had a look now. Here we go. If you ask ChatGPT to write an 8-bit ALU in Verilog, you might be surprised it knows. I mean, yeah. One of the things I like doing with it is classic questions that you might get in like a computing programming class, like right, let's have a look. Write a program in. Let's pick Haskell. Haskell is a language that I dabbled with in university, God knows how many years ago, and I couldn't write a line of today. Write a program in Haskell to convert denary to binary. Oh, are we going to see some Haskell code? We are. Whoa. Okay. Oh, this brings back memories. This is my brain is firing on all cylinders now. Whoa. That is pretty cool. I mean, one of the nice things is that we can stick that into a REPL straight away to see if it works. So let's bring up Haskell. Sure. I honestly think it's been about 18 years since I wrote a line of Haskell. Let's have a look. Tata, I will come on to your question in a second. Let me have a look. Pop that up here. Was it that one? Yeah, copy that code. Let's get that in there and see if anything actually happens. Because sometimes, something's happened. Did anything actually run? Do we need to? I bet we've just defined a function and we haven't got any actual values for it or something. It ran. It's valid code. That's pretty cool. Do I need to type something in? No. Oh well, there we go. Cool. Is that Comic Sans? I didn't see any Comic Sans, Hydrogen. I didn't see any Comic Sans, but there could be. Now, here is a quick question, which we can actually answer. Would it be possible to know if it's possible to keep our code running when the computer is off? So, yes, in Replit, this is very, very easy, but it is a paid-for feature. But it's very, very easy to do. What you're looking for is always on. So if you click on the name slug of your REPL, you'll get all the options down here. Always on is what you want. Turn it on. It's 2 cycles a day per REPL. I think that's a bit of a steal. When you click that, I've now turned this random Haskell REPL always on. Now, what that means is it's not literally on every second of the day. What it means is it will stay on for as long as it can, but occasionally, the way Replit works is that we will move your REPL from one server to another to make sure resources are managed well. So occasionally it will turn off. Always on means that it just turns it back on and clicks the run button again for you. So you can customize that behavior and you can make sure that's all working, but it is really, really cool. And 2 cycles a day, honestly, it's a steal. I'll just show you one other thing as well, because in your REPLs, you will also see somewhere, here we go, you'll see a new section, reasonably new, called status. And this will show you your list of your most recently active REPLs, but importantly, will also show you the ones that you've turned always on. And by clicking the little drop-down menu, you can see the states that that REPL has been in for a while. And this is my workshop attendance REPL, which is PHP. Sorry, everyone. But you can see there occasionally it's fallen asleep, but always on has turned it back on instantly straight away after that. So we should find my Haskell REPL here. There we go. And it's got a small history. I can start it up directly from there and get it working. And I can mess with it to my heart's content. I'm actually going to turn that off because I'm going to forget that. And 100 cycles later, I'm going to be coming back to it. Now, this is particularly good for Discord bots and bots in general because they always need to be running. All you need to make sure is that when that run button works, your program works and works continuously. My Haskell REPL wasn't doing a great deal there because it was just doing something and giving up and stopping. So not ideal there. Okay. Let's have a look. I wonder if GPT will be useful in exploring design patterns. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know a lot about things like TypeScript yet. I am learning. I am trying to find my way into the modern world of web dev. And I think that looking at different design patterns and different styles would be great. Now, one of the things Ghostwriter does really well is the transform code feature. And I'll pull that up just to show you very quickly. Here we go. I'm just going to write something very, very simple and try and convert it. So actually, let me generate iterative. I think. What's the normal thing we do when we look at recursive and iterative functions? It's probably going to be factorial. I'm being a bit lazy in my generate code prompt. If you give it more information, you'll be good here. So it hasn't given me an iterative one. Actually, it's given me a recursive one, but that's okay. So this is giving us the factorial number using a recursive feature. One of the nice things you can do is you can transform code with Ghostwriter, and you can say, make this using iteration. Hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll pick that up and it will. Oh, here we go. So it's the same function, but now it uses loops and iteration instead of recursion, which is pretty cool. So Ghostwriter can do that for you. It can transform from one to another. Now, that's a very simplistic model of that, but using ChatGPT to give me examples of this program written in this style, I think would be pretty cool. And we can feed it code, and we know that's going to work. OGBL, I wonder if one day Replit makes an API for the REPL status. That would be quite good. I mean, one of the things that I know Amjar's been tweeting about that we are looking at and that we are implementing is SSH connections. So I'm sure that with an SSH connection to a REPL, you'd be able to pull in information from that anyway, because being able to connect to the REPL remotely would give you a lot of information that you could then pipe into other places. That's worth exploring when we get onto that. And for those of you with eagle eyes in there, you'll notice that there's another little icon sitting in my dock, which is quite cool. Because I know I've just been tweeting about that. If you are interested, if you do follow our CEO and the Replit account on Twitter, occasionally they'll tweet out about, we do this new thing. Do you want to be involved? And if it's something that's up your street, well worth a go. But it's saying their APIs, the GraphQL, the status your page views fetch it from GraphQL. Absolutely true, buddy. I'll be honest, I don't know anything about how that works or how to access it, other than I know it exists. Yeah, it's in development, buddy. It's in development at the moment. So yeah, it will occasionally be broken. Right, okay. Buddy said me TypeScript is awesome. It does look awesome. I've done some editing of TypeScript code, but I haven't yet written any myself from scratch. But what it does feel like is it feels like, again, maybe I give my age away here, but if I was building dynamic content on a web page, I'd be, looking at doing things like Ajax and using jQuery, and I'm sure that's ancient compared to the sorts of things that the TypeScript can give you. Let's have a look. What is a factory pattern? When do we use it? Let's have a go. What is again, I don't know the answer to this. So let's have a look. What is a factory pattern? When do we use it? Give an example in Python. Answer in the style of Elmo. Oh, dear me. Okay, we'll try it. We'll try it. Let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, factory pattern. Yeah, it makes sense. That's the old Java joke, isn't it? Like, you want to make a horse in Java, you need to make a horse factory first. This is quite good, though. This is good. I mean, do you know, this is the sort of thing that I feel like is so important to have. It's like having a knowledgeable friend that you can just go, what's this thing? Can you explain it to me quickly? And they give you a very thorough answer. Now, I know people say, well, just Google the thing. Yeah, but you have to apply a level of, cognitive power to that. You have to sort of summarize and bring things down. And then you're messing around with it. And then, yeah, I think this is a really nice way of doing that. And, I think that's great. Shall we see if the factory class will go into a REPL? I happen to be in Python, so let's have a go. Valid code. I mean, what else do you want? We've been doing a bunch of Twitter threads over the last week about how we built stuff with ChatGPT and Replit. And honestly, this Replit lends itself so well to something with ChatGPT because you can ask it for code, copy, paste, boom, off it goes, and it works. And you can keep asking it questions and keep prompting it with stuff. I think it's honestly amazing. Hydrogen says they're going to make a Replit API thing, but I couldn't access Replit through an iframe. I think that is design, because there's a lot of security issues through getting to any website through an iframe. You can change a lot of the variables and the information being sent back and forth by having it in iframe. So I think it's a security concern. I don't know the exact details, but I've seen examples of people doing security checks with things like that, and it was definitely frowned upon. It's like if Google and Stack Overflow had 1 trillion babies and we got to keep the smart one. That's absolutely right, Fuchsia. I will just caveat it though. It is like having the world's most overly confident friend, because sometimes it will very confidently give you a bunch of information that is just a load of rubbish. And there are some brilliant Twitter threads of people continuously getting the wrong answer despite how they prompt it. So you do need to give it that little bit of a pinch of salt if you're doing that with it. I think we've been pretty well in the chat today, to be honest. I think we've and this is what I love about Replit 101, guys. When you guys are here in the chat and we're just having the conversation, and we're pushing through the questions there, it's great. But I do want to. Fuchsia said exactly, just like everything on the internet. Yep, absolutely true. You got to take everything with a pinch of salt. OG, I'm going to star your question. I'll bring that up in a second. But I do want to just have a look at a couple of questions that I've picked out from ask.replit.com. Remember, ask.replit.com is where you go if you've got any questions, and now it's where you go if you've got any bugs to report. So it's a great place if you've got just general questions, coding questions, or you want to ask about a particular feature. It's manned by our team of volunteers there, and Ian Simpson, who is a fellow teacher. He's very good at answering questions and helping you get to the right responses. And of course, our support team are in there now, which is really, really good. But I want to show you this question because I saw this question pop up, and I sort of, given the theme of tonight's holiday special, which is, can ChatGPT solve a question? I saw this and I was interested because this is the sort of question that you get asked from time to time. And the answer, unfortunately, is just go to the docs. Which Ethan has very kindly added as an option. Just go to the docs. But can ChatGPT give us more information? Let's take the exact question and let's paste it in here and see what we get. Oh wow! See, this is this is what I'm talking about with ChatGPT. It is well, I say that I'm not sure that's the full list of, of web URLs that we might need. It is doing one of those. Yes, it's giving me results, but some of them you can see there are just like I don't know why it's telling me to unblock Google Analytics to get Replit to work on a school network. Interestingly, it's not mentioned anything about REPL.co, which is what we do all the hosting of the HTML and images and things like that from. Well, it's had a go. It's had a solid college try there, hasn't it? But some of these, hopefully, I did try this response earlier. Here we go. Let me show you. So this is what it gave me earlier when I gave it, maybe a better clarity question when I said, what URLs I need to unblock to get Replit working on my network? And it gave me a better try there. If you compare that with our documentation, that's not too bad, actually, in terms of a good guess. But it'd be lovely if you could send it back there. I've got to pick this one up because this one's entertained me. Sorry. Can ChatGPT answer me how to do JavaScript? Let's have a go. Let's say, how do I do JavaScript? Let's just give it a simple prompt like that and see where we go with it. It's just not bad. It's giving us a description of what it is. Can it give us examples? Okay, so it's telling us to type something into a file, which I suppose is not bad. Again, it's been very specific, assuming using like a local editor there, which is, again, don't give me local editors. If it's not on Replit, I don't know about it, but that's not bad, That's not bad. Really not bad. I mean, yeah, it's good for introductory stuff. We can give it something general there. Tech Panda Pros just said, I think the first URL was the only valid one. I think you're right there. I think ChatGPT was just making things up as it went along there. But, it did try. Right. The other question I wanted to look at was this, actually. Because, I mean, this is a common question. One of the things we do on 100 Days of Code on day 39 is I get you to write just a text version of Hangman. And the question here is basically, well, look, can we build one with graphics? And the answer is yes. And there's been a bunch of answers there and a bunch of different things going on. But the question hasn't really been answered. It's like, yeah, you can do it, but how do you do it? Let's see if ChatGPT can do that. I'll just answer this question very quickly. Yes, Replit is free. There are some paid features, but normally these are things like more power, always on, having private code, things like that, and Ghostwriter, our AI assistants. For the vast majority of what most people want to do, Replit is totally free. So let's try this. ChatGPT. In Python, write a Hangman game with graphics. I know that's a very simple prompt, and we know that the more detail you give to the prompt, the better, but I want to see what we get here. Well, I didn't really want an explanation. I just wanted the code, to be honest, ChatGPT, but all right, thank you. What's it doing then? It's using Pygame. Okay. I haven't seen it do any actual logic yet for that game. Oh, it's put a caption on there. Okay, right. So what it's doing now is it's basically telling us to go through an array of images and load them from the folder. I don't know where we're going to get those images from. I think we have to make those up ourselves. It's not bad, though. I mean, in terms of the logic for it, it's okay. I mean, one of the things that, I've still got friends that are teachers in high school. High school teachers, not teachers that are still in high. You know what I mean? They're high school teachers, and they are amused by ChatGPT because it can pretty much solve any high school computer science programming question pretty well. So the interesting is it doesn't come up on plagiarism checkers either, because the code is pretty unique, which is quite cool. Okay, so what have we got here? Right. Okay, we've got a massive, massive Pygame program there. Let's copy that and stick it in that. It's bound to crash because whilst it's installing the libraries there, we actually haven't got any of the pictures, the images in there. Is that what it's crashed for? Okay, I'm pointing to put it into a Pygame report. So let's bring it into a Pygame report. It's bound to have some settings that I clearly haven't set up. And we'll see from there. Fuchsia's answered the question for us, which is quite nice. That's cool. I will say, Fish, if you do pop a few cycles on, so you've got the opportunity to boost REPLs, you'll find that when things are feeling a bit slow, you can just quickly turn on a boost and get things done. It's really good for things like installing libraries, where libraries are often, well, something's happened here, where libraries are often things that take a while to install on a free REPL. Having that boost, so you can turn it on whilst you're doing your library installs and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. Let's have a look at this in full screen and see what's going on. Let's maximize it. Well, something's going on here, ChatGPT. I suspect what's happening. Well, it's definitely taking my... Oh, it's crashed. There we are. That's what it is. Do you know what it crashed on? Couldn't load the pictures. Well, that's it. ChatGPT tells us to go through a folder and load the pictures, and off it goes there. It does look a bit like Morse code. It does look a bit like... it does look a bit like Braille, but better. And Fuchsia, yes. Yeah, there is. There's like the amount of REPLs is almost unlimited. It uses a thing called Nix behind the scenes. So if it hasn't got something you want, you can probably find it in the community, or you can build it yourself. Very, 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 very cool. Right, I did star a question, didn't I? Right, let's go back to OGBL's question from a while ago. So SSH and Postgres. Again, if I mispronounce that, do tell me, because when you're into computers, there's a lot of words that you read and you never actually say. And I think this is the first time maybe I've said that outside of a classroom. And at least in a classroom, people just nod at me and go, that must be the way it's pronounced. So if I'm saying that wrong, do tell me. They're awesome news. Maybe next year also plugins. It's like somebody's been keeping an eye on the tweets. I don't think this is top secret or anything, because I know that we've hinted about it in the changelog. By the way, if you are interested in, I know that I always start these Replit 101s with, what's new in the last 2 weeks. But we have a changelog newsletter where we talk about everything we've done in the last 2 weeks. And I also do a video version of that if you can't be bothered to read it, where I talk about and show the features that have been implemented in the last 2 weeks. That's on our YouTube channel. It's in a playlist called the changelog, or you can just Google it if you want to, which is quite nice for going through all these changes. And in that, we did hint at the future of extensions coming to Replit. So again, I'll leave you with a little bit of a little bit of a spoiler, a little bit of a taster of what's coming soon to Replit. Okay. What's this? Can it draw MIPS architecture? Oh, well, let's have a look. Draw me MIPS. Oh, I can't spell. Architecture. Okay, so it's telling us what it is again. Okay. I didn't expect it to draw it out using ASCII art. I don't know if anybody else was expecting something different, but yeah, there's some cool stuff on there. I recorded a video now about 6 months ago where I was feeding the old version of OpenAI a GCSE computer science past paper and seeing if it could answer them. And it got a B overall, but where it struggled was with the draw questions. If it just sticks things in ASCII, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, show me a truth table for a NOR gate. That's something that you might see in an exam, and this is what it used to struggle with. Things where you do something like that. Oh, it's doing it in ASCII again. Oh, it's using Markdown syntax. It's popping up. That's pretty cool. I mean, that is pretty cool. There's a nice question here and a nice follow-up. Yeah, it's totally free as well. So sign up for a Replit account, have a play with it. If you're new to code, I can recommend my 100 Days of Code course on the Learn page, where we take you through Python, simple, short, sharp lessons, a day at a time. You don't have to do all 100, but it's a good way of getting stuck into it. I'm I'm reasonably impressed. I think I might have to re-record this video though, because my old video on this is very, very outdated now that ChatGPT can actually draw things in Markdown syntax. Well, I think it has Markdown because it started doing ASCII, and then the moment I noticed that it looked like Markdown syntax, it started formatting it as tables. So yeah, it seems to. Should we ask it to do something in Markdown? Give me an example of a link tree in Markdown. Oh, Steve, you're a man after my own heart, my friend. He teaches PHP, and it's great to be able to run Replit from anywhere. Steve, we'll need to get into contact. I've got some nice templates with PHP and a simplistic MySQL database together, which students can just use to kick up a PHP server very, very quickly if you want it. But we are getting database integration in a much nicer way coming in very, very soon. I'll pop that out. This not only is the common refrain of computer scientists and programmers the world over, but Nathan, who runs our Discord and some of our community features, does the newsletter, popped into one of these Replit 101 sessions last time I was in San Francisco and basically said, how do I center my div? And I just went, sorry, too complicated. Should we ask it? How do I center a div? Now, this is the holy grail. If it can do this. Okay. Very simplistic. Oh, it's going to town. It's going to town. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just laughing at ChatGPT coding its way. This is pretty cool. It's been very nice. It keeps saying, "I hope it helps." I think that's really nice. I'm going to come back to OG a sec because they said some teachers at my university were kind of worried about students' UA to write their thesis. I wonder if Plaidshire can detect it. Now this is really interesting, actually, really interesting because, again, I've still got friends that are high school computer science teachers, that are high school teachers generally in different subjects. Not that I'm a wind-up merchant or anything, but when I was still teaching and the earlier version of OpenAI came out, I prompted some of my students to see if they could get away with submitting essays written by OpenAI. And some of them did. But I had a phone call from one of the history teachers in my school going, "Are you telling the students?" And I had to say, "I'm sorry, I just wanted to think get away with it." And they were getting away with it, but unfortunately, one of the students was very honest and and completely dobbed me in and told on me. But no, I think it's important as a former high school teacher that people are aware of these things. As far as I know, most of the time, ChatGPT's answers don't get picked up in plagiarism detection, because it's not like it's taking chunks of text and gluing them together. It is doing knowledge synthesis. It is giving you a clear and a different answer. And I know that I read a while ago that what the people at OpenAI were doing was trying to find a way to seed the answers from ChatGPT so that you could run a little check on it to see if it had been AI generated. Like, I suppose it's not the correct space character every 15 spaces, or something like that, which would be very simplistic to embed on it. We've got a prompt here from Fusion. Should we give it a go? Should we give it a go? Let me go and copy it. So I have to flip to a different window to get it. Zork is an old text adventure game. So we'll pop that in and we'll pull it up and we'll see how we're going with it. Well, it knows what Zork is. It knows what Zork is, and it is doing it. Okay. So basically, ChatGPT is now emulating Zork for us. Let me have a look. With look around an option? I can't remember. Oh, Hydrogen's claims that proving the Pythagorean theorem did not end well. Well, I don't want to be mean to the poor computer. It's done well for us tonight. Well, you know, that's it for us. We are at past. Should I just type north? Hold on before we go. Go north or just north? I think that's pretty cool that it's doing Zork itself. I mean, I'm sure it's got all the knowledge to do that. It's cool. I think maybe we keep Chat GPT up on the side of us every time we do Replit 101 because it's a bit of fun. It's a real bit of fun. Right. Well, do you know what, guys? Thank you very much for being with us live tonight. It's always great. Craig, I will do. And if you do need to email me for any reason to ask questions or to follow up on anything, I shall pop my email address on the screen for you now. So please do follow up with me if you want further information about anything, or you want that PHP template that so many people have forked. So many people. 2, 3 people have forked it. Unbelievable. Bye, buddy. Bye, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. We do these every 2 weeks, where we answer your questions, normally by human means, but maybe more with ChatGPT as we go along. And it's been great having Ghostwriter and all of Replit available. I hope you all have a great holiday, and I hope that you all do something fun over the next 2 weeks. I'll talk to you again in 2 weeks' time in the new year, when we'll be taking a look at what questions have cropped up over the last 2 weeks, and once again looking at all the cool things that we've done on Replit and building forward. Please do be there live, because it's much more fun for me when I've got a chat room of people to engage with and live questions. So thank you very much. And I think there's a couple of us, by the look of the chat, that will probably spend the rest of today playing Zork with ChatGPT. Guys, it's been a pleasure. I shall see you in 2 weeks.